All right, let's get started. So this is the start of Unit 4. I forgot to open up Unit 4 till just like 2 minutes ago. So you may have to refresh your screen, your browser to see Unit 4. So Unit 4 should now be visible here. Unit 4, we start talking about animation and simulation and some modeling sort of topics. Here we do a little bit today with a basic kind of game and sprites sort of thing. And then we'll do we'll talk about simulating. We'll use a logo app and a coin flip and talk about that here in the next 2 weeks. So we're going to start today with this lights off tutorial. And again, this is hopefully you've begun to see these. This is just kind of standard tutorial in mobile CSP. We're going to create this app. The idea here is we want to kind of create an app that's somewhat game-like, has a game-like feel to it. We can't do that much as far as games go with this simple app inventor thing. We actually teach a game development course where we do full game development, and we do something called Unity for that, and we do 3D modeling and that. But so to do real game development, you need a little more complex environment. But we can do some basic 2D stuff here for this. That's what we're going to do. We're going to try, the theme of this is, again, to use this to try to remind someone to do something. And what we're trying to remind them to do is turn off the lights to conserve some energy here. My wife was always, for like the first 20 years of our marriage, always big on turning off lights. And it made sense, but it just kind of drove me crazy. I would leave the room to just go do something. And before I come back like 2 minutes later and the lights would be off. I'm going, well, it's dark. I can't see anything. So I finally figured out a solution to this. And it wasn't to change my behavior, which would be one possible solution. It was to install solar energy. So we have solar panels all over the top of our house. So we generate basically all of our electricity with solar panels. So then I don't have to worry so much about turning off the lights. So I think this is fine for those of you who still aren't running solar on top of your house. So that's what we're trying to do. So again, we're going to do this. I'm going to pop up the short tutorial today to get this up. I think it's a little better. And we're going to need the template because we're going to need some photos in it. So again, go into 4.2, scroll down to the template, lights off template, click on that. It'll open it up here. I'm going to give it a different name because I have so many of these. Move this over here. Maybe we'll make it a little bit bigger. So again, this is the basic view we want to create, is this idea. We want to have a canvas again. Remember last time we started to do canvas with the paint by thing, we need a canvas. We're going to need a sprite. Have you guys heard of the term sprite before?
And then like from scratch. Yeah, from scratch.
Scratch has sprites in it, yeah.
Yeah, like you can use a cat and all that stuff. Like I remember sprite.
Yeah, as a sprite is generally like in graphics, just a simple 2D graphic stuff. So like I always think of sprites as like Mario is a sprite. Well, old Mario, you know, the pixelated Mario is a sprite or something. It's a little sticker basically that we can put on something here. for this. Okay, so we're gonna want a we're just gonna want to bring in, let's see, we need a canvas here. So under nope, not under media. Under drawing and animation is a canvas that you want. But again, you can look through this, and then we're going to want a label below that. So I'm just going to grab a label and stick that below that. We need to play a sound and have a clock. So remember there under media, there's a player here. There's also a sound. You can do either one. I'm going to use sound because we've done players before. Sound will let us play a really quick sound. So I'm just going to put that on the screen, and that's going to show up as an invisible one here. So I've got my canvas, and then inside my canvas, there should be some files in here that are already set up on my kitchen, on my light bulb. So I'm going to click on my canvas, and I'm going to set the background image to my kitchen. Like that. I am going to also then need a sprite here. So in the under canvas, there's something called a sprite. I'm going to put that on here. And then for the sprite, I'm going to set its picture to the light bulb. Now it gets kind of big, so we want the sprite to be small. So I want to change that to 50 by 50. So the light bulb should be, the size should be 50 pixels by 50 pixels. And again, you can look through the tutorial here. They'll tell you what to do. So my screen is named screen vertical arrangement. I don't have a vertical. The default arrangement is vertical, so I guess I didn't even do that. I should have. I skipped that part. The canvas. Now, for this, and then my light bulb sprite, I want to make sure I call my sprite rather than image sprite 1. I'm going to name that to light bulb sprite. Now, you can add the clock in here. I'm going to do the clock later when we need it. So just so you know, there is a clock. We will use it in a little bit. I'm not going to put it in there right away. And then the label, I'm going to change the label to be save electricity. It seems like the template starts with a black background here, which I think is fine. But then when I do my text over it, it's also in black. So I'm going to make sure I change the text color to a different. I think I'm going to maybe put it in yellow for that. So see if you can get that set up. Again, we want, before we start coding, we basically want the canvas with this background kitchen. We want a light bulb sprite on it that's 50 by 50. We want a little label down at the bottom. And then we're going to start creating whack-a-mole. I always learned it as whack-a-mole. Did you learn it somewhere else? Like you go into these arcades, and hopefully you've been to an arcade, right? You go in an arcade and you put anything, and there's these machines that pop up a little mole and you whack it with the big rubber hammer there, that game. So that's what we're going to do is our version of whack-a-mole here. So see if you can get this set up. Call me over if they need some help. I have to pop. Okay, so I've got my canvas and I've got my sprite here. And now I'm going to start, and I've set up some stuff. I'm going to start up some methods here for this stuff. So I'm going to want to have the light bulb move to a random spot here when it starts. So I'm going to go into my blocks. I'm going to use when the screen under screen, there's a screen initialize event. I'm going to use that. So when it starts, I'm going to jump the light bulb to a random spot. So how do I do that? So I have my light bulb sprite. I can set its, I can tell it to move to a location here, here. So I could do that. I can also just set its X and Y directly, either way. So I'm going to move it, just use this move to here when it initializes and pick a random spot here. How do I do a random number? So under math, there should be a random integer. I'm going to do that. And I'm going to just duplicate that. Now, when I run this, it'll move to a random location once. And then I can just whack it again and again and again. That's not a very exciting game there. So I want to be able to have it jump to a different random location here and do that. So what I have to do is put in a timer for that stuff, because right now it's just going to do it once. And again, I can actually test this out to see if it works here. Let me just bring this up to you and see if this much works. I'm going to pop my screen up here. I'm going to do my okay. Okay, connect, add companion. Scan the QR code. That row will load up. So again, the light bulb should be in a random location. If I run it again, it should be in a loot location, but it just stays there. So I'm going to want to go back to my designer, and I need to add a clock here. So a timer sort of stuff. So that is under sensors. There's a clock there that I want to do. I'm going to move that clock here for this. Okay, so now that I have my clock, I can go back in my blocks, and under the clock, there'll be an event at the top for the timer whenever the clock ticks, and I can actually set that. And then I'm just actually going to duplicate this block here and put it up there. Now, once you start doing this a little bit, you'll start thinking anytime I duplicate a block and put it somewhere else, I go, I could just put that into a procedure, give that procedure a name and use that procedure again and again rather than just duplicate that block. Well, I'm not doing that yet, but because we're not at lesson 2.3 yet, we're only in lesson 2.2, but just think about that. Okay, so here's this, and it should be jumping now let's see if my timer is jumping around here. So now my little thing is jumping around a lot. That's good. It's still, mine is kind of tied into a corner there. Why is it? Let me make the screen a little bit bigger. Why is it tied to that corner there? Well, I'm picking a random integer from 1 to 100 for the x and the y. And so now you might be used to 1, like 0, 0 being at the bottom left of a graph when you graph in math. In computers, 0, 0 is the upper right. That's 0, 0. And then y goes down positive and x goes across positive. So just kind of a weird, if you're used to doing math graphing a lot, just kind of a little bit strange, but just so you know, it's a little different here. And so 0, 0 is up in this corner, 1, 1. 100 is like down here. So I want to make this bigger. So I could just try making this bigger. I could make this 200 and this one 200. And it should jump around more. Maybe really big, maybe 2000. Is that a bit? I don't know how many pixels there are in this image. So I could try 2000. Yeah, 2000 seems like that might be a little bit too big because I don't see I kind of lost the my thing. So if only there were, if only I knew how big that was here to do that. And so that's why it is telling you here, you can get the canvas width and the canvas height here. So X is this way. So we're going to not do this 2000 here. So for the X, I'm going to go to my canvas and get the canvas height. And then I'm just going to duplicate that and change it to the canvas width. So X is this way, that would be width. Y is this way, that would be height there. So I'm going to set X to a random integer between 1 and the canvas width, Y to a random integer between 1 and the canvas height. So get rid of some of these other ones here. I don't know I need any more. I'm actually just I'm gonna duplicate this again, and I'm gonna just, duplicate this. Only had this in a procedure, I wouldn't have to do this. Okay, so now how's that looking here? So the light bulb should jump around the different locations on the screen. My phone falls asleep here for this. All right, so it should be randomly jumping around to different locations. Now, let's see how are we doing? Okay, clock, timer, we did that. Screen initialization, we did that. Light bulb touch. So what do we want to do when we hit the light bulb here? We want to do something. So we're going to add an event. So when we click the light bulb, it should, wean or do something or something like that. So I'm going to go to my light bulb sprite, and there should be an event. Scroll up to the top to see collide with drag, edge, reach, flung, no longer colliding, touchdown. So I want to do touch. Oh, they said just touch. Okay, we can do touched. When we touch the light bulb here, we want to play a sound here. So under sound, there should be just play. I'm going to play the sound. Now you'd think when I touch the light bulb, it would play the sound. Doesn't seem to be doing that. Why isn't it?
You also have it as pause, not play.
Oh, that would be pause part of it. So if I actually did play, what sound is it playing? Did I set the sound? And I don't think I did. So I'm going to go back to designer mode, click on the sound and the source. I want it to be a beep. Oh, yes. I love that beep. That's so familiar. That's wonderful. Little beep. Oh. Okay, so we play the sound when we click on it. Let's see if this works. Hey, oops, it's going fast. So, you can also do something like some of your phones you can vibrate. You can try things like that. So we can try that. So, some sort of interaction. I think there's under sound, there's a vibrate for a little bit. We can see if that works. I've had trouble getting that to work on my phones in the past, and emulators don't work. So just so you know, but you can try vibrating. This is milliseconds, so like 500 would be half of a second here. You can try that for this. So this should be jumping around. See if you can get it to jump around to different things and stuff. See how that works. The next thing is to create a procedure. I would have never thought of that there. So you can try that. I'll go around and see how you're doing if you need help with something.
Vibrate works.
Vibrate does? Good. With sprites here, you could either jump them around or move them around for this. Notice the sprite has the background is transparent there, so you just see the sprite. You don't see the square image of the sprite, and so we need to have a special graphics with transparency for that. So when you're doing you're going to make your own version of this with your own sprites. Find a sprite and put it on here. When we do that, it'll be important to have a sprite that's transparent background for this, because if I actually look at the sprite, it has a background. It's just invisible in this, kind of. It's a square image for this. And then how about controlling how quickly it moves around? I'm going to go to my timer, and I can change the clock settings here. So again, 1,000 milliseconds is a second. So 5,000 would be every 5 seconds here. So you can decide how to set it for that one. So again, you can choose whatever speed you want to make that move around. Okay. We did all that. We did our sound vibrate. So again, I don't think mine vibrates. No, mine's not vibrating. Interesting. Okay, let's add a procedure here if you haven't already. So again, we have these two things this set of code that are exactly the same. So again, we're going to go to a procedure. Now there's two ways. This procedure is the one we want. We're not returning a value. You can kind of look at the shape of this block and the shape of this block. They're the same. I'm going to drag this in here and create my procedure, give it some name, move bulb. And then now, since I give it some name, that move bulb will be here. They call theirs move random. You can use move random too. That's fine. I just think move bulb maybe is a little better. Okay, and then again, this one I can get rid of. And I can put move bulb in there too. So when the timer clicks or the screen is initialized, we move the bulb there, and that is defined up above. Okay. Yeah, it says, no, not all Android devices contain a vibration component. I don't understand that because my phone obviously vibrates. You know, when like I all day long, whenever I'm at St. Claus, it's on vibrate mode. So every time I get a text message, it vibrates. I know it vibrates, but it's sometimes this interface isn't able to control all vibration components on all phones, it seems like. Okay, let's see how we're doing for the reflection. Oops, I got logged out, looks like there. So remember, we're starting a new unit. So you should go back in Brightspace and click on the unit 4 reflections and make your copy of that. You'll be editing that in the next couple of weeks here. So you make a copy of that and edit that here. And again, so 4.2, we're starting it. This app presents a new type of event that we haven't encountered before. What type of event it is, how often is it triggered, and that's talking about the clock and what is that event. So again, we have our timer, our clock, and our timer event that goes off and how you do it. So you can write something about that. Our procedures you wrote in this app help manage the complexity of the code here. So here's our procedure we wrote for this stuff. Now, the next thing we're going to look at is, we did 4.2, is 4.3. And that's based on the same thing here, where you want to develop your own version of this stuff. We use something in this class called design thinking for this, where we use this. Let me bring this, open this up. This kind of thing where we're going to get an idea, we're going to prototype that idea, we're going to test out idea, and we're going to do it again. But we're going to start by trying to think of who's going to use our app or our software. So, and what are they like here? So that's what we call empathize. Who would we use this app? Then we're going to define the app, right? You know, some down. Think of, you know, what are the users going to need to do there? And then we brainstorm or ideate. I like the term brainstorm because I have trouble saying ideate. There, so ideate, we're gonna get new ideas and figure out which ideas, you know, sound good and which ones don't. And then we're gonna prototype some of the best ideas, test it out, and then we repeat this step, this process. We think, okay, now we have this. We maybe, and sometimes we'd actually give it to users, show them it, and ask them to think of new ideas for that process. So that's what you're going to be kind of doing here with this app. And we're going to think, again, the first iteration here, we're going to think of a socially useful activity your app can promote here. So we are doing turning off the electricity. You want to think of some socially useful thing you want to encourage people to do there. So, and again, all we can do is it's got to be a whack-a-mole game. So some sort of whack-a-mole like game where you're going to teach people something socially useful there. So something not to do or something to do. So maybe I've been listening to birds a lot in the morning because I have this weird app that tells me what birds are singing around my thing. It's Merlin. It's just so cool. So I sit out in the morning and drink my tea and see what birds are in my yard. And so I've been thinking about birds. So there are, and in my mind, there are good birds and bad birds, some invasive birds and some not. So I was thinking maybe I'd pop up good birds and bad birds on my screen, and you would click on the bad birds to get shoo them away. And squirrels. I also have squirrels in my bird feed. Yes, we're having we have this endless battle against squirrels, yeah, and deer. So again, maybe something like that. You could do, again, you can do trash recycling. You could do what else, you want to promote people to think about or consider their as things. So again, we've got to do a whack-a-mole where you present sprites and you either click on them, good or bad, for that stuff. So think of that. So think of some app, define the problem that you're trying to do, brainstorm what are the icons, create just, a draw. And I don't even think you really need to pay for one, but I mean, if, because we're kind of limited to this sort of design here, where we have some image on the screen and we're popping a sprite on the screen there. And then we're going to prototype this here, and you're going to try to find some images for that using Google image search. So maybe I want some squirrel sprites. So I really want to try to find a sprite of a squirrel here that I can use and stuff like that, and see if I can bring that in my screen. And then I want a background image. So start thinking about how you might want to do that. So I'm going to save this app so I can use it as a reference. And I'm going to create a new app. And on this new app, again, I'm going to want to build it just like I did. Now, if you really want to, you could do kind of a save as of the old app and use that and just modify it. You have to decide if you want to save as the old app and give it a different name or whatever and bring in here, or start from scratch for this. So again, think of what you want as a background image, what you want. So I'm just going to recreate this. I'm going to want a canvas. I'm going to want a sprite on my canvas. I'm going to need some pictures of this. So start thinking about that. And again, you can try to download some pictures and upload them here for this. So. So if you're doing this for a commercial game or something like this, you will want to be careful about the rights. So when you search for images here, there are a lot of images that are copyright. People own the rights, and we want to make sure we respect those things. So if you are like in Google search and are searching for images, you can switch the usage rights to like open source or what we call Creative Commons license that'll just show you images that satisfy that sort of requirement that are open and anyone can use without infringing on permissions here. So you can do that. Now for this class, it's just an educational class. You really don't have to worry about that. So if you want to put someone, you know, uh, didn't SpongeBob have a friend? It wasn't Squirrel and SpongeBob?
Oh, Sandy.
Sandy the squirrel. So if you want to put Sandy the squirrel in your thing, you could. That would be fine. Here's I think this is Sandy here. But so that would be okay. Because we're just doing this for educational stuff. Uh, Also nowadays, AI can generate a fair amount of stuff, images. So here I just asked it to generate an image for me here, and it did. So again, you can feel free to use AI for images. Now you have to be careful with AI images, almost for the opposite reason. If you make a really successful game, like based on this bird feeder, let's say bird feeder squirrel bird. I don't know what I'm calling that, but if it becomes the next, Angry Bird app and it sells 1 million copies, I can't license this image because it was created by AI. I can't copyright that image because AI created it. So I have to. But I can certainly use it in this app. So I'm gonna download that and put it in my app. I think. So. Okay, so I'm going to download it and then I'm going to upload it in my app here. So find that. And then once I have it there, I'm going to go to my canvas and make it my background image. And it's too big, so I'm going to switch this to fill. Okay, let's talk about squirrels. So one thing to think about with your app is you can have multiple. We just had one sprite of a light bulb, but you can have multiple sprites bouncing around here. So you can have a good sprite and a bad sprite, or multiple types of good sprites. So if I want to have birds and squirrels, and I want to get rid of the squirrels and keep the birds here, so I can try that out. So keep that in mind. Um, let's upload some. I tried to mention earlier about the sprites and the background. And so what you'll find is that some images will be transparent and some won't. So you'll see on this picture, the squirrel on the left, it isn't transparent. So I see the white background there. And again, there are spots on the internet where you can take an image like this and make the background transparent. It just marks it in a certain way in the code, marks that kind of a certain color so that it's transparent. It's better if you generate if you have a transparent image here. So like you'll find on some websites like this one, when I went there, this is a website, and one of the free ways to download is this free transparent PNG. So it's transparent for us to use. So that would be better. If I went with like a JPEG, that wouldn't be transparent here, but this would work here. The free version has this little ad pasted in it, which isn't the best, but it's it. On this one, like I just did a screen capture of this and try to do that. And again, when you do something like that, or just download an image with a white background, it won't show up. So you have to watch this. Now, I haven't tried AI to see if I can generate a transparent background with AI yet. So I don't generate that. Let me try that. But again, you probably want a transparent background so that when it moves around, it looks better. So keep that in mind.